So we're going to make a video series on section 3.1. I'm going to go over each section in depth. So the first one we're going to do is evaluating. So evaluating. And so this is similar to the number 3 that we did on our worksheet in class this week. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give a bunch of examples and we're going to go over them. And then the next sections I will do after that. So this will be our first video. So 32 to the 4 over 5 is going to be my first one. So what I want to do is I'm going to label my N and I'm going to label my M. So my N is always the bottom number and my M is always the top number. And if I was to write it in radical form, it's going to be like this. So if I write my guy over here into that radical form, it's going to be 32, 5, and 4. So an easy way to do this is you can use your calculator, but I want to show how to break it down by showing the work. So how do I do this? Well, I need to find out what number to the power gives me 32. Well, if I use my calculator, I would find out that 2 to the 5th equals 32. So I know I'm going to use that. And one of our rules that we can use from properties of exponents from our textbook is ARS equals ARS. So it means we can multiply. This implies that we can multiply this exponent times this exponent. So how I'm going to do that is going to be 5 times 4 over 5. And 5 times 4 over 5 is going to come out to 4. So it's 2 raised to the 4th gives me 16. Now if I did this in my calculator, if I put in my calculator 5 square root 32 using this button, if you see this button on your calculator, this is what it looks like. You just input these values that you see here and here. And what you're going to get is, if I put it on a calculator right now, I'm going to do the same thing. So 5 square root 32, I get 2. And then we use the 4 that was here. The 4 was here, right? We're going to just add that 4 in. So 2 raised to the 4th is 16. So the same thing. You can do these either way, whichever way is easier. But this one shows how you're breaking it apart. Okay, let's do another one. So we have number 2, 3,125. Okay, so if we have a decimal, we have to find out what that is in a fraction. Well, I remember one of the examples in the textbook that we did, we know that 4 over 10 gives me 0.4. But we can't really leave the 4 over 10 the way it is. We can actually reduce it because 2 goes into both of them. So what will happen is you get 2 over 5. So we know our fraction is now this. So I'm going to rewrite it as 3,125 raised to the 2 over 5. So I'm going to start breaking it apart. So I have to find out what power will give me, what number to the power gives me 3,025. So you have to kind of figure this out using your calculator. So I already know that 3,125, 2 is not going to work very well. So I'm going to try 3. So let's say I try 3 raised to the power. And how I'm doing this is how I'm using my calculator. I'm doing the number. And then I'm using the button. So when it says raise, I'm using the button that shows X to this on my calculator. So then when I do that, I do 3 raised to the power. Let's do 3 raised to the power of 4. Well, will that give me a result? I don't think it will. No, that's 81. So let's try 3 raised to the power of 9. Too big. 3 raised to the power of 7. 2,187. Oh, that's not right. I don't think it's 3. I don't think it's going to be 4 either. So I'm going to try 5. Let's try 5. Let's see if it works. So 5 raised to the 3rd, 125. Too small. We need it way bigger. 5 raised to the 4th. Not right yet. The 5th. Aha, we found it. So 5 raised to the 5th, we know is 3,125. So you have to kind of plunk around to find out what it would be, but that's okay. That's part of problem solving, right? It's not always straightforward. So now we can solve. So it's going to be 5 raised to the 5th multiplied by 2 over 5. So 5 times 2 over 5, we get 5 raised to the 2, which is also 25. So if I would do the same on my calculator, I would just put 5 square root 3,125 in my calculator. I'll do that right now. 3,125. I get 5, and then I carry over that 2. So 5 squared is 25. So same answer. And then let's do number 3. So this is going to be a little bit different than the last two. And why is that? Well, our fraction is negative. So what does that mean? If I have a negative result, this means I have to put it as 1 over this guy to make it positive on the bottom. Then I can solve. It makes it easy to solve. So now I'm going to solve this guy by itself. I'm not going to incorporate the 1 up here right now. I'm just going to solve the bottom. So 81, what do I know off the top of my head? Well, 9 times 9 gives me 81, right? So we can make that as 9 squared. Easy. We already know that from multiplication from elementary school to middle school. So now we can use that 9 squared, multiply it by our fraction. 2 times 3 over 4. So we get 9 to the 3 over 2. Now, we can see that's not we're not going to get a perfect power. That's okay. We can still use that to solve. So 9 raised to the 3 over 2, I get 27. Now, what if I use my calculator? Okay, so my calculator, but am I done here? Hold on, am I done? No, I'm not, because I have to incorporate it back into the 1. So I have to write it as 1 over 27, so I'm not done. I got excited. So now let's see our calculator. So I'm going to do 81 square root 4. So 4, it's going to be a little bit different, because we know that this is going to equal 3, and then I have to incorporate that power, but you still get the same exact answer. And then we just have to write that as 1 over 27. So both work. All right, last one. Let's do one more. Okay, so 1.5. Well, what fraction will give me 1.5? 4 over 3? No, that's not right. Let's try about 3 over 2. Yeah, you got it. So 3 over 2 is my fraction. So this can be written as 25 to the 3 over 2. Okay, now what gives me 25? Well, we just found that in the last example. We know that 5 squared gives me 25, so we know we're going to use 5 squared. Times that by my fraction. So you can see after a while, you start to get used to it the more you practice. So if you're still not getting these, just practice over and over and over. It'll really help you to process. So you get 5 to the 3rd. Well, 5 to the 3rd is what? 5 to the 3rd. It's 125. But am I done? No. Well, what did I forget in the first thing? I forgot to put the negative. So the negative tells me it's going to be 1 over 125. So just remember, if it's negative here, you have to make sure that it's in fraction form. So let's do it in our calculator. So 25, my n is 2. Well, if it's just a 2, we know normally a radical has a 2 in front of it. Maybe you don't see it, they don't normally write it, but we just treat this as a normal square root of 25. So we know the square root of 25 is 5, incorporate that 3. 5 to the power of 3 is 125. Make sure I have that 1 over top. So that's how you do these. So this is how you would evaluate these expressions.